Shalom everybody, welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, and the neighborhood dog. Yep, we haven't heard from him for a while, but don't worry, he's alive and kicking and he has a lot to say. But as we say, all opinions welcome here, so welcome to it. The Israel Brief is your first stop for those top stories making the headlines in Israel, and my incredible community of Israel briefers everywhere from Inverness in Scotland to Northern Ireland to Trinidad and Tobago to Oregon in the US to South Africa to Australia and everywhere in between Canada all join me daily. Usually we have a coffee or a tea, but it's been a busy day, so I haven't gotten to the kettle in time for our brief. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. Now today is day 530. We still have 59 hostages that are remaining captive in the Gaza Strip. Every second counts. Now yesterday I went on a bit of a rant accusing world leaders and the media of silence because we've heard a lot about them with regards to Israel launching Operation Strength and Sword, but no demands to release the hostages. This is where you guys come in. Please help us speak for our hostages. We believe there are still 24 alive, and we want to bring everybody home. The remaining hostages that are alive, to start that very long rehabilitation and recovery process, and for the dead to be laid to rest with dignity, so that their families have a grave to weep over, so that their families can have closure, and just because it is the moral and dignified thing to do. Now, one correction from yesterday, I said that the cybersecurity company Wiz was being purchased by Google's parent company Alphabet for $33 million. It's actually $33 billion, making it the biggest exit in the history of Israel. Quite an extraordinary achievement for Israel's technical know-how, and is just a reminder to the world that when it comes to cyber, when it comes to anything technical related, Israel is an absolute powerhouse and a world leader. So with that said, let's get into those top stories and some updates on Israel's Operation Strength, or Sword and Strength rather. This was launched in the early hours of yesterday in response, as the Prime Minister said in his address to the nation last night, this is in response to Hamas refusing all proposals on the table. And he went on to say that Israel will continue its military pressure on Hamas until they release the hostages. Now, earlier today, there were some reports in the media accusing Israel of conducting a strike on a UN facility in Deir al-Balah, and accusing Israel of killing one foreign worker and injuring others. The IDF a short while ago said that contrary to reports in the media, Israel did not fire on this facility and appealed to the media to exercise caution and not report news that is unverified. This is something that we've seen as a trend across the last now nearly 18 months. The IDF have confirmed eliminating some of the top Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas officials during the airstrikes, and earlier today called on civilians in Khan Yunis to please move out of the combat zone and into the humanitarian areas, the humanitarian area of Al-Mawasi. And of course, there's always that danger that Hamas moves along with the civilians and operates from those humanitarian areas. Hamas is not above using their civilian population as human shields. Protests have been ongoing across the country today in protest to Prime Minister Netanyahu's plan to fire the head of the Shabak, or the Shin Bet, Ronen Bar. Citizens took to the streets of Tel Aviv last night, about 40,000, and this morning protests have moved to Jerusalem. Earlier today, one of the major arteries into Jerusalem, Route 1, was blocked due to protesters. And amongst the protesters are also many calling for the remaining hostages to be returned. Meanwhile, the Attorney General has said that the Prime Minister's proposal to fire the Shabak chief is unlawful. The head of the Shin Bet and Prime Minister Netanyahu have clashed in recent months. Just a few weeks ago, the Shabak released their investigation into the circumstances which led to the 7th of October, and there were heavy criticisms of government policy, and they've called on the government to carry out their own state inquiry. Now, calls for a state inquiry are getting louder and louder, not just from the security establishment, but also from former hostages and also from Israel's citizens. We now go to South Africa, where South Africa's Treasury announced that they would be allocating a further 37 million rand of taxpayers' money to fund their case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. In December 2023, South Africa filed its memorial at the ICJ accusing Israel of committing genocide against the Palestinians. Now, the Treasury announced last year that they had already allocated 95 million to this case, which makes it, I think, about 132 million. Guys, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not that great at maths. Of taxpayer money that is spent there. I know that there are many rumors about Iran funding the case, but from what I gather, this has been very, very carefully calibrated, that Iranian money went to settling the debts of the ANC. Meanwhile, South Africa used its own taxpayers' money to fund this case. Over the weekend, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared South Africa's ambassador to the United States, Ibrahim Rasool, a known supporter of Hamas and who had accused President Trump of being a white supremacist. Rubio declared him persona non grata and expelled him from the country. Rasool has until Friday to leave the United States. Now, I know that President Trump is a polarizing figure, and whether you like him or loathe him, from the perspective of diplomacy, it is appalling to make those comments about a sitting president or prime minister, especially in a country where you are a guest. Extremely embarrassing for South Africa, and South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa responded by saying it is regrettable, but we are trying to focus on strengthening our ties with the US. President Ramaphosa, you might want to change your foreign policy, just saying. And finally, we love her. She's Israel's very own Wonder Woman. I think she's a wonderful woman. Yes, I know, sometimes I'm corny, can't help myself. Our fantastic Gal Gadot was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame last night. She is the first Israeli to be awarded her star, and it was very, very moving to see her there with her wonderful husband Yaron and her 4 gorgeous little girls, along with Vin Diesel and Patty Jenkins and various others who paid tribute to her. In a very, very moving interview with Variety magazine, Gal also spoke about why she is speaking up for Israel, calling herself an indigenous Israeli, and she said a quote which I love. In fact, Gal, you've inspired me. I want to get this on a t-shirt. She said, she's a humanist, and she believes in humanity, and she felt it important to speak for the hostages. And she said that there are many who have opinions but don't know any of the facts. So true. But she said, when your compass is clear, your conscience is clean. I love that. I'm going to say that again. When your compass is clear, your conscience is clean. Well, we love Gal, and despite all the brouhaha around her latest movie and her co-star Rachel Zegler, we of course are so proud. Gal, in the movie Snow White, you may play the evil queen, but to all of us, you're just a queen. And those are your top stories. Let's take today's audience question from Gary in Johannesburg. He says, I am confused. Was there a ceasefire? Did Israel break it? The media says so. Gary, let me allay your fears and your confusion. So we only had one phase of the ceasefire, which concluded in early March. We've kind of been in no man's land since. As the Prime Minister said, the Hamas has refused all the proposals put on the table by Witkoff and the mediators. We did not move to a second phase, and there wasn't another phase of the ceasefire. Ergo, Israel did not violate or break any ceasefires. Hamas did by those horrific, obscene hostage release ceremonies that they carried out, and for their attacking our soldiers inside the Gaza Strip. So if anyone violated any ceasefire, it was Hamas. So I hope that answers your question. And this is a reason why people are losing faith in the legacy media and coming straight here to the Israel Brief. And just a reminder, if you like the Israel Brief and you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Let's get our news out to as many people as possible. And a reminder to you guys that if you have any questions you would like answered, please pop them in the comments section below or be in touch with us via our website or various social media. Tomorrow is Mensch and Moron Day, so guys, get those nominations through to me. Let's see who I pick as the Menschers and the Morons, plural. In the meantime, don't forget to check us out on YouTube right here at the Israel Brief, on Facebook at Lottel's site, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on X at Lay of the Land 5. Are there any I'm forgetting? Did I say Facebook? I'm going to say it again, at Lottel's site. And guys, God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And I may take you up on that tea right now. Bye for now.